Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I have a very exciting video. I have my book haul for the month of February 2025. I always love doing book haul videos. I'm always excited to get new books, and this month I got quite a few books to talk about here. I don't know if I did my math entirely correctly, but I got somewhere around 23 or 24 books this month, which is super exciting. Several of which I bought myself, some of which were sent to me, and some of which I just got for free because they were available on Kindle and different things like that. So a lot of different stuff here. And for those of you who might have seen them, I've been doing some YouTube shorts where I briefly show off some of the books that I got recently. I did a few of those each time I was able to get some books. So you'll be seeing a lot of the same books here, but I'll be able to kind of talk a little bit more about them if I need to and all that stuff. So I suppose we'll get right into it. First things first, I'm going to go over the books that I was sent or received for free or things like that. So first, I was sent the new releases by Baen Books, and I looked through them. Not all of them piqued my interest, and a lot of them were later books in series, but I did grab one of them, which is Down These Mean Streets, which is like seems like a fantasy noir, or like a, I don't know, fantasy noir necessarily, but like a noir style short story collection edited by Larry Correia. This one just kind of piqued my interest. I'm not really, I haven't read a whole lot of stuff like this, and I do enjoy short story collections now and then, and considering that all their other monthly releases this month, a lot of them were like books in series and things like that, a lot of later books in series. This is one of the ones that was just kind of by itself, so I figured I would grab this, and I will try it out sometime, and hopefully I enjoy it. Next is Vultures and the Worldmaker Parable by Luke Tarzian. These both were free on Kindle in February, so I grabbed them. Luke is an author that I follow over on Twitter, just because, you know, I've interacted with him a few times, and his books sound interesting to me and stuff like that. And I saw he posted that the first book in each of these series were free this month, so I grabbed them. And I'm excited to read these. His stuff seems kind of dark fantasy, maybe some horror type stuff. So it seems really up my alley. I thought it would be really fun. I love the covers as well. I think the covers look amazing. Yeah, always happy to support an indie author to pick up some of their books and things like that, and hopefully I enjoy these. I think they should hopefully be a lot of fun based on what I've seen about them. The next handful of books I was sent by one of my friends and also a viewer of the channel, Ryan, who is a good friend of mine. He had some of these books. They were all duplicates that he had, where he had other versions of these books or things like that, and he didn't need these anymore. So he asked me if I wanted them, and I said sure. So very happy about that. So big thanks to Ryan for sending these my way. So first he sent me the first two books in the Star Wars Corellian trilogy. I already owned book 3. I've had book 3 for a couple of years now, but I didn't have the first two books, and I've been intending to pick them up for some time now. I just never got around to it, and a lot of the time when I would go to get books, they just wouldn't be available, like at my local bookstore and things like that. So he sent those to me, so now I have the full Corellian trilogy, and I've heard kind of mixed-ish things about them. I've heard some good things about it, but generally I don't hear a whole lot about this trilogy other than that, so I'm curious what I'll think of it. It seems to focus a lot on Han Solo, which is really cool, so I'm excited to check those out. I think hopefully that should be fun. It'll allow me to continue my journey through Star Wars Legends, which of course I'm always interested in doing. I want to read all of the Legends books eventually, so now I'm one step closer to being able to do that. He also sent me Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is I think it's a novella technically, but this is one that has been very, very popular on BookTube in the last several years. Kind of the quintessential cozy fantasy book that's come out in the last few years. A lot of people really like Travis Baldree. He's released another book or two since then. Actually, I think the next book is supposed to come out soon and things like that. So cozy fantasy, I don't think I've ever read anything that really would qualify as cozy fantasy before, so I'm excited to read this. I want to read some of the stuff that's very popular on BookTube as well, just so I can kind of see what all the excitement's about, and it just seems like something really different and unique compared to what I usually read, so hopefully I'll enjoy that one. I'm excited. I'm always excited to check out something that's a little different. You know, I like to throw in some variety here and there. So hopefully this will be a little bit unique, a little bit different. He also sent me the first 2 books in the Dragonlance Chronicles, which are Dragons of Autumn Twilight and Dragons of Winter Night. Which this is also one that I've heard. This is one like when I first started watching BookTube, a lot of people on BookTube pointed to this as a really good classic fantasy series. So I've been wanting to read it for a few years now, but again, just never found the books in bookstores and things like that. And now there is like the nice hardcover edition that's out, but now that I have these, I'm going to try to track down the last book in mass market paperback, if I can. But yeah, heard a lot of great things about these. I haven't read a lot of classic fantasy, and I've never read anything Dungeons and Dragons related. I've been interested in checking out Dragonlance and Legend of Drizzt and stuff like that, but I've never read any of that stuff. So hopefully I enjoy this. I think hopefully it should be fun, and I've heard amazing things about it, so I'm excited to check it out. It'll be nice to get a little bit more classic fantasy under my belt because I haven't read a whole lot of it. He also sent me the first and third book in David Weber's Safehold series. I believe this is like a sci-fi space opera type series, which is really cool. I've heard a lot of great things about David Weber. I've never read him before, but I've heard a lot of great things about like his Honor Harrington books. I don't think I've really heard of Safehold all that much, but out of the stuff that he's written that I've heard about, this actually seems to be one of the things that's most up my alley. Because I do enjoy like sci-fi, but I don't know if his like kind of military sci-fi, which is what Honor Harrington seems to be, I don't know if that's necessarily as much up my alley as something like this, so I'm excited to check this out. I'll have to track down book 2 sometime so I can read the full trilogy, or I think it might actually be more than 3 books, I can't remember. Either way, I need to track down book 2, so I can at least get through the first 3. And excited to check these out as well. Like I said, seems like it might be up my alley, so I'm excited about it. And the last thing that he sent to me was book 4 of the Sun Eater series, which is Kingdoms of Death. Of course, I don't own the first 3 books in Sun Eater yet, but now I have an excuse to go get those at some point. And I've really been wanting to read Sun Eater. It seems like everybody on BookTube is loving these books. They sound really awesome. And Christopher Rocchio, like I've never read anything of his before, but I love listening to like his interviews. He just has such a, I just like listening to him talk about stories and his process and different things. And I really want to read Sun Eater because I've heard amazing things about it. So now I have book 4, so it's one less book that I gotta get at some point. So now I gotta track down the first 3, and I really hope I enjoy this series because I'm very excited to read it because I have heard so much praise for it over the last year or 2. So very excited to check that out eventually. Next, all the rest of these books are ones that I bought myself. So first I got Dune Messiah. Some of you may remember in my book haul for January, I bought books 3 and 4 of Dune, which are Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune. And that's because I already owned Dune 1, but I went to this bookstore where they had all the books side stacked, and I grabbed just the next ones that were underneath the first Dune, not even checking the titles on them, and it turned out they were books 3 and 4, not books 2 and 3. So I rectified that this month, and I got Dune Messiah. So I'm excited to read that. I've been wanting to get more into Dune for a while. I reread the first book early last year, partially to see if I wanted to continue the trilogy, or the series rather, and it turns out I do. So I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping I might be able to get this in sometime this summer, because I really want to continue Dune. And I've heard that the Dune series gets kind of weird and interesting later. Not everybody loves the later books, so I'm curious to see what I'll think of them. And Dune Messiah is very short as well, so hopefully I'll have a good time with that. I also picked up a couple books in another pretty popular series. I got the first 2 books in Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I got, of course, the first book, Throne of Glass, as well as Crown of Midnight, I believe is the second book. Been wanting to read Throne of Glass for a while as well, mostly just to see what all the excitement's about, because it seems like Sarah J. Maas is such a popular author. And of her books, this seems to be the series that might most appeal to me. So I'm excited to read this. I've been wanting to read the series for a while. Even before I got into like fantasy really heavily, I would see like Throne of Glass if I went in the bookstore and stuff like that. So I've been aware of it for a long time. And I've heard, pretty good things about this series, at least from some people. And of course, some people also just don't really care for this series and things like that, or the author. But I'll be curious to see what I think of it. And I've heard that the series gets really big and epic and awesome by the end. So I'm hoping that I enjoy the first few books so I can work my way through the whole series. And at the very least, I just want to give this author a try, give this series a try, see what I think of it. So I'm excited to read those. I also got An Echo of Things to Come by James Islington, or Islington. I'm not sure actually how his name's pronounced, unfortunately. This is book 2 in the Licanius trilogy. I've heard great things about this trilogy as well. This is the only book in the trilogy that I have now. I do not own books 1 or 3, but I've heard great things about this trilogy, and it's just seemed very intriguing to me. And from what I kind of looked into about it, because I've seen reviews for this trilogy and things like that, seems like it would be very much up my alley. And of course, this author has become very popular recently with his book, The Will of the Many, which a lot of people really loved. So he's an author that I just want to check out, and this trilogy is one that I want to check out. And I love like the covers and all that stuff. It just seems like a series that I really enjoy. So I'm excited to check this out. Like I said, got book 2, so now I gotta get books 1 and 3. So I hope to grab those at some point so I can read this trilogy, which is super cool. I also got 2 bind-ups of books, which are 2 books each, in the Age of Dragons series, which also goes, I think, if I can remember the entire name, goes by the names like the Chronicles of the Imaginarium Geographica or something like that by James A. Owen. And it seems like this is kind of a YA fantasy type thing. But I saw these were ones that I just kind of bought on a whim because they looked really cool because they have dragons on them. So, I mean, duh. And I saw they were, 2 books in 1 each. And I was like, oh, that's a good deal. So these books are, the first one includes the first 2 books in the series. And the second one includes books 3 and 4. And there's one more collection that includes the final 3 books in the series. So I'll have to grab that sometime as well. But this is one that I don't really know anything about. I never really looked it up. I mean, I looked it up briefly just to see what it is about. But don't really know much about it. It was just kind of one that I bought on a whim because it looked really cool and was a good deal. So hopefully I will enjoy those. I think, like, I love the covers. I think they look really great and, dragons. So hopefully I'll enjoy those. Next, I have 2 other books that are very different for what I usually get and something that I didn't expect to even find. And that is 2 Batman novels, which are The Killing Joke and The Court of Owls. Now, these are not the comic books of Batman. These are actual prose novels based on the Court of Owls storyline, which I believe is taken from a Batman line in like the early 2010s, and then a novelization, it seems like, of the Killing Joke comic. Now, I've never really read much comics. I've read a handful of Spider-Man comics. I've read a handful of Star Wars comics. I've never read Batman, but I do enjoy the character in a lot of other mediums. I love the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, and I love the Batman Arkham video games, and I've seen some of the animated movies, some bits of the animated shows here and there, things like that. So it's a character that I really enjoy and a setting, I guess, that I really enjoy. But I've never really read much of the source material or something directly based on it. So this will hopefully be a way for me to do that. And I would like to read the original like comics sometime, like some of the, like I'd love to read like the actual Killing Joke comic and things like that eventually, but for now, these will do. And I did not expect to find these because I know that both Marvel and DC do have a handful of prose novels based on their comics. Like I know that Marvel has like a Civil War book and a couple Spider-Man books and things like that. I've actually read a book based on the Spider-Man 2018 video game, things like that. And DC also has a handful of novels as well. But I don't usually see them out in the wild very often, so I was really excited to see these and picked them up because I thought it was just a really cool find. So I'm excited to read these. Hopefully I enjoy them, and I think it'll be really cool to read these. Next up was another kind of impulse buy, kind of similar to the Age of Dragons books. I have Brother Red. This, again, I don't really know much about, but it was cheap, and it kind of just jumped out at me. Like I saw the cover and I was like, oh, that's a cool cover. And it's a standalone, which also appeals to me because a lot of those fantasy books and even a lot of other books that I read tend to be a lot of series. So I would like to read more standalones. And this is a standalone, seems to be kind of dark fantasy kind of. And I read the back of the book and it seemed interesting and stuff. So this one, again, kind of just an impulse buy that just looked cool, but I'm excited to read this. I think hopefully I'll enjoy it, and I want to read more fantasy standalones and things, and it just looked really cool, sounded really cool, so I picked it up. And then the final book in this book haul is The Key to Rondo by Emily Rada. Emily Rada is an author that wrote one of my childhood favorite series, the Deltora Quest series, as well as its other spin-off series like The Dragons of Deltora and Deltora Shadowlands. But she has also written several other series, some of which do take place in the same world as Deltora Quest. This one apparently does not take place in the world of Deltora. I thought it did, but apparently it doesn't. But I've been wanting to read some more of Emily Rada's stuff outside of just Deltora Quest for a long time. And I'd like to reread and, in some cases, first time read some of those other Deltora spin-off books or sequel books. But hopefully I'll enjoy this one as well. I've heard a bit about this series, but Deltora is obviously the big, most popular one. But I'd like to read more from this author. So it's kind of revisiting a childhood favorite in a way, but in a way that's kind of new and exciting. So hopefully I'll enjoy this. I believe this is a trilogy, so I'll have to try and track down books 2 and 3 at some point. But yeah, excited to check this out. Hopefully I'll like it. So that pretty much wraps up this book haul here. Quite a few books, which I'm very excited about. A lot of stuff that I got, a lot of stuff that was sent to me, all that kind of stuff. Always enjoy doing these big book hauls because it's just fun to be able to have a bunch of new books to talk about. So hopefully I'll get a few of these in sometime this year and I'll be able to read them. And I'm sure plenty of them I'll be waiting a while to read because I just got so many books that I need to read and so many more that I still want to buy, of course. But I'm excited about all of these and hopefully I'll have a good time with them whenever I do get to them. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you have read or heard of any of these before, and if you've read them, what you thought of it or whatever, or if any of these sound particularly interesting to you, if you haven't heard of them before and all that kind of stuff. And if you got anything cool in February, let me know in the comments as well. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. So that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.